Today we're going to be unboxing the Canon 50mm 1.4 VCM RF L series lens. Yes, lots of letters behind that. We're going to unbox it. We're going to give you my first initial thoughts of this. We're going to go out, take some video, photos. I'm going to leave a link below where you can download those raw files and look at them for yourself. And then we're going to come back in and I'm going to give you my initial thoughts on this so far. But if you really want to know, I'll skip ahead and just tell you. It is my favorite 50mm I've ever shot with. It is fantastic. It is awesome. But we're going to go into more details on it. And then I'm going to come back in here and give you even more kind of who is it for, should you buy it? And if you do, the link is below. But let's unbox it. Let's get out and about, and then we'll come back in here. You know that the future has already been written. I already unboxed it. But let's do it again right now, and I'm going to show you what's inside. All right, we've got the Canon RF 50mm 1.4 L VCM right here. So let's unbox this. This must be the lens hood. And here is the lens right here. And yes, it is substantially smaller than all my other Canon L series lenses. I'm used to zoom. This is my first prime period. I was going to say my first 50 prime L series lens, but it is my first L series prime lens, which is a first. I don't know. I guess I've always done zooms. And so this is compared next to the 14-35 zoom, the f4 at 1.4. This is pretty good. So how does this feel in the hand? Cool. It's a little rubbery right there with the new extra button. I don't have any lenses that utilize this right now. There is the iris control. Oh, I think we'll figure that out in a second. But autofocus, and it is my first L series lens that does not have image stabilization, which is fine because we've got IBIS built into the R5 Mark II, the R6, the R6 II, the R5. Those cameras do have IBIS, so really no need there. So this is interesting. Right now it is locked. I can't move it, which is good. It's in automatic mode. This is where you're going to use your camera to control the aperture. But if you hold this, it kind of goes back, but if you hold it and then move it out, now it can move, but it's locked out of the automatic mode. So you are in the open mode and now you can do everything through manual aperture change, which is awesome because you've got the 1.4 all the way to the 16. Excellent when it comes to video because when you're changing your aperture, you don't want it to be click, 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 click. You want it to be a nice smooth aperture ring, just closing nicely, not deet, 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 deet. If that makes sense. That's my explanation of changing your aperture. This is such a small lens, by the way. Smallest L series lens I have ever held. So the 50mm, which is going to be the same size as the 35 and the 24 1.4 L series lenses, is even smaller than the 14-35. And the 14-35 actually sticks out a little bit with the zoom. Where it might get a little bit bigger is this lens hood, obviously to keep the sun out from all angles. All right, we are connected right there. So, you know, I'm so used to zooms again. So this is always a zoom to me, but this is going to be focused. All right, it is set to f14, but I think that's because of the aperture ring here. So look, I can change the aperture ring. Oh, that is so smooth. Holy cow. So you can change it in photo mode as well. So it could be video and photo. Your aperture ring does change. And it is smooth. Holy cow, it is cold, but it is warmer than yesterday. Yesterday, it started out -2 and then it got to like 8 degrees. And now I think it's about 13 or 14 degrees. Freezing, absolutely freezing. So to give you an idea of what's going on behind the scenes, I am shooting with the ND1000 magnetic filter by KNF Concept. So if you do like it, the link is below. I've been using these for the last year and a half, 2 years, and I love magnetic filters. They just pop on, pop off. And unlike variable filters, the vignetting is not that bad. It's pretty good, actually. It's controlled well. So that's what it is. C-Log 2, and I'm at ISO 1600. So ISO 1600, C-Log 2. And so when you do C-Log 3 or 2, it does have to be at a base of 800 to get your best dynamic range. If you go below 800, it's below the base. It's not very good for dynamic range. So the 1000 brings me up to 1600 ISO. So that gives you the background. That's where we're at. We're at 1.4. So we're gonna just shoot this whole thing wide open. Photos that I will include in the link below that you can download the raw files. They'll be in 1.4. Maybe a few of them might be 2.0 or 2.8 to show sharpness in that, but most of them are gonna be at 1.4. So this should give you an idea. The sun is right over here, and so I'm slightly backlit. Not sure how that dynamic range is gonna be. I'm gonna have to boost. Shadows may not be the greatest. It is a little bit darker than typical. So we'll see what post-production looks like. I will show you prior to C-Log editing, grading, and then what it is now. So here I am, 1.4. The background, even back here, there's a nice fade off with these 50 1.4. I'm sure the 24 1.4 and the 35 1.4 are similar. The bokeh is really nice on these lenses. Already only been about a day and a half of using it. And I gotta say, so my microphone died, and where do I go when my microphone dies? Naturally, I go to where all things die, and that is the cemetery. So it is a day later, it is darker out, but it's warmer. It's weird. When it's sunny, it's cold. When it's cloudy, it's warmer. Warmer is 32 degrees. Yes, it's warmer here in Wisconsin. And it's pretty gray. That's what you get here. But this is Jared rambling at the park thinking that the audio is working just fine. So this gives you an idea of what beautiful sunlight looks like in C-Log 2. And it's pretty good. It grades very well. And I love the 50 1.4 look of it all. But I'm making it simple right now. It is just standard profile. It is not C-Log. My ISO is, we're gonna show some bokeh here. It is 160 ISO, 1/50th shutter because we're at 24 frames per second, and 1.4. So, and we are at the white balance of cloudy because I just wanted to be consistent. Yes, sometimes I like auto white balance, but for the sake of you guys, I don't wanna annoy you. So, here we are. I don't have to worry about grading. This is what it looks like right out of camera in standard profile. You can tweak these as you wish, but I do like the look of this. And it is in the oversampled 24 frames per second from the 8K sensor on the R5 II. So this will give you an idea. Let's do a little bit of tracking. We don't have any sunlight in the way or anything, but this is pretty good. I love the bokeh on this. I am discovering, after shooting with this for about 3 days now, that this lens, I'm gonna go into it a little bit more detail at the end back in my studio, but this lens is really perfect for interview style. I love it, like documentary style. I love the 1.4. I don't think I would stop down a whole lot, maybe to 2, not 2.8. Might as well use my 24 to 72.8 at that point, but this is pretty good. Here, I'm gonna get out a shot, and it will focus right there, and we'll get in. And what I like about it, and it is partially the setting into the Canon R5 II, is that it has a slow focus in. It's not hunting all over, it's not going to the back to the front, it's just slowly moving in. And again, that's hands off. So you can have some cinematic focusing without having to manually change anything. I'll pop in right here. Yeah, that looks pretty good to me. This is a super sharp lens. I love it. Again, if you don't want to grade in C-Log 2, the standard profiles are awesome. I think they're really good. And if you have the lighting just right, you're not going to have to change that at all. And by the way, if I haven't said it already, in the studio, it is the 50 millimeter. And I'll go back into that so you'll be able to see what that looks like. And that is controlled lighting in the standard profile as well. And I believe I'm at about 4,600 Kelvin preset for my white balance in there. Now I am about 20, 30 feet away. I wanted to make sure that my feet and my whole body is in the scene. And so 20, 30 feet away, there should be still some pleasant bokeh in the background. It's not as blown out as it was when I was that close. Maybe the 1.2 would be a lot better, but this is what it looks like at 1.4 at a full body shot from about 20, 30 feet away. So this is pretty good. I would say actually, if I had to guess, it's more like 20 feet away. And this would give you a good idea of these shots. What do you think? And then obviously here is the tracking. It is definitely a cinema hybrid lens. I love it. And no, I don't hear any noise come out of it when I'm right up next to it doing video. Here I am vlogging, but I don't see the jitter in the background, right? It does not look bad at all. Not that you're gonna wanna vlog with this thing, unless you wanna go crazy, but this is pretty cool. I love it. So I know this seems a little odd, but I'm not sure if you can see the name on here. This is William Ward Minahan, 1867 to 1912. If you're familiar with the date of 1912, that is when the Titanic sunk. And so William Minahan actually was on the Titanic when it sunk. His body was recovered, his family got him back here, and this is his body's resting place. So it's interesting little history here. There is a book, if fictionalized based on some factual things about the Minahan family. From what I've heard, it's kind of messed up, but you know, every family has issues, right? Unfortunately, at the dinner table, his ancestors are talking about him sinking in the Titanic. I wonder if he ever knew where the jewel was, where, you know, the chick from Titanic dropped it, you know, maybe she can help him out. That's right. Tony the Tiger, his resting space right here. He had too much sugar, too much Frosted Flakes. Now he died of diabetes, his feet got amputated. Yeah, none of those medications worked for him. Couldn't use that one that makes you lose weight. What's that called? Yeah, that thing. They say his last words were, "They're great," when he got his foot amputated and died in surgery. There's a close-up of deer poop. So, you know, if you're curious of what deer poop looked like with the 50mm 1.4, well, this is it. It's cinematic looking. This would make a good movie about deer poop. So this used to be an old road that came from what is called Riverside Drive here up, but they blocked it off way probably before I was ever born. But this was a really old road. This will give you an idea of what this looks like. I think this is a very nice cinematic looking shot. And by the way, 50mm happens to be the most common focal length when it comes to cinema. So when you have those talking heads, when you have those scenes with multiple people, 50mm is that natural looking compression and scene. It makes a good body shot, right? Maybe not a head shot, but a body shot. And it sets the scene very well. 24 is a very exaggerated, ultra wide look when it comes to cinema, but 35, 50 is the prime, 85 really getting into those scenes. And then when you're setting a landscape shot, then you're looking at over 100 to 200, but typically you're not gonna have people in those shots because they don't look natural. 50 is the most natural. So this lens would make a great scene setup because it is a hybrid video and photography lens, and the 50 is just so versatile. It's great. But yeah, this is just a really nice looking Sleepy Hollow type scene maybe that you can use. Again, I'm doing it in standard and not in C-Log 2. C-Log 2, I could probably get more of a cinema look to it. But for simplicity and just to show you my initial thoughts on this, this is what I have. Again, the bokeh at 1.4 is really nice. Oh, and if I haven't told you already, this is the ND8 magnetic filter by KNF Concept. Before I had the ND1000 because it was super bright. This is the ND8. And again, my ISO, I did bring it up to about 200. So this is what that looks like. How many people out there could say they did a self-portrait shoot by themselves in a cemetery? This guy could say it. It should be in Guinness Records, which could be beat by any of you weirdos. You can come to a cemetery, do some portrait shots, posing next to tombstones and talking about dead people, just like me. And that's what attracts you to my channel, because you're just as weird. So this is when I wish I had a 200 millimeter on, but this is the 50 millimeter. Getting that deer, which is probably about 60 feet away. This might be as close as I can get. This is me driving in the cemetery, catching a deer right there. Wow, it's tracking it pretty good. So as I mentioned in the video, this is the 50 millimeter looking at me right now in 1.4. I'm ISO 100. My light, I had to dim down quite a bit. I think I had a stutter right there. I had to dim it down because 1.4 is super bright. And when I was in the cemetery, 1.4 was awesome because that was near 4 o'clock in the evening where the sun is not even out anyways because it was cloudy. But it already is setting near that time here in Wisconsin. It's already getting dark, but it looks so bright. Shooting at 1.4 is excellent, which makes me think, boy, the 24, the 35, and the soon to be in the near future, hopefully, the 85 1.4 VCM, when it does come out, that will be joining my arsenal. That'll be a fun one. But here are my thoughts. First of all, this is not a review. This is initial thoughts. I can't give a review immediately. There's testing that needs to be done. There's putting it through everything. It's bringing it on set, doing the interview videos that I do with my clients, also the photos. And now I'm going to be using this probably, most likely, definitely on some photo shoots when I'm doing portraits of clients. Maybe not necessarily full on headshots unless I put it on the Canon R7 and then I got that 1.6 crop. Maybe that would be closer to that 85 millimeter, and the 50 1.4 would actually look pretty good. But if you have a Canon R5 Mark II like me, that 1.6 crop can be just by one little button and you are in that 1.6 crop. When you check out the raw files in the link below, you are going to see that the vignetting is actually quite big, but it is nothing like the 14 to 35 f4 where the vignetting is so ridiculous that you can actually see the edges and the corners pretty badly. This one, it's just not bad. And actually, the correction isn't that drastic. I'm not sure what the 35 millimeter or the 24 millimeter VCM 1.4 is going to be like because I have not tested those, but this one is not bad. And I have added back vignetting in some of my portrait shots, some of my photo shots, just so I can bring that focus right into the center. Otherwise, sometimes you're looking at everything, even though there is a shallow depth of field, it's nice to bring everything in, the eye, to that subject. But just after shooting this for a few days, I understand why people use this on film sets, why the 50 millimeter is the standard. It does look natural. It does give a cinematic look. And because this is a hybrid lens, you get that nice shallow depth of field with nice slow focus, nice roll off into the bokeh, and there's no crazy hunting. And I have to give credit to the Canon R5 Mark II with its stack sensor, where any kind of fast movement, you're not getting that rolling shutter as badly as if you were using the R5 or the R6 II. And yes, 3D pop does exist in this lens. It actually shocks me how good it looks at 1.4. The portrait look, or even getting closer to that headshot look, it just stands out. I love it. I don't think I'm going to want a 1.2, especially with the weight of this. This is a very light lens. It is lighter and smaller than my 14 to 35. It is probably the smallest RF L series lens I've seen. And some of you might be thinking, Jared, this is a $1,399 lens. Can I go third party? And yes, most definitely you can go third party. The other alternative would be the Sigma 1.4 lens, which I have heard is amazing, and you can get it probably for around $800, but it also is huge. I don't know if it suffers from focus breathing, but I will tell you this. These lenses are fantastic for not having focus breathing. There is minimal to zero focus breathing with this 50mm. As I was walking and going, there was no preset that I put in there to get rid of focus breathing. That is just the lens all by itself. So the fact that this is an absolute hybrid lens for video and for photo. Now, although 50mm is not a big zoom, having the Canon R5 Mark II 45 megapixel, I was able to zoom into these awesome shots of the deer, and they kept the image pretty well. So I can't reiterate enough that 45 megapixels has blown away 24 megapixels of the R6 II, and I really can never go back to something like the R6 II as my main camera, maybe as a secondary. But having 45 megapixels as a photographer comes in so handy, especially if you accidentally have the wrong lens in a scenario that warrants a longer lens, because now you can zoom in and keep an awesome ratio of your megapixels. Now, this isn't the end of my testing with the 50mm 1.4 VCM. I'm going to be doing more videos on this. One of them is going to be on the Canon R7 showing the 1.6 crop. I think it's going to look really good cropped in at that 32 megapixels, and also doing a 1.6 crop here on the Canon R5 Mark II and showing that you can sustain some good shots, which a 1.6 would be closer to that 80-85mm look. I also want to do a video on headshots and portraits using this, and although I am not a headshot or portrait photographer, I'm an architectural photographer, it should be fun and entertaining. So if you haven't already, you might want to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. But real quick, what do you think of the lens in this space right now? Usually I use a 24mm on the R7 in this space. This is a lot more compressed, obviously, but do you like this as an interview talking head video, or do you like my other videos with the 24mm 2.8 on the Canon R7? Let me know in the comments below, because if you like this, I might just continue to do my talking head videos with the 50mm 1.4 at 1.4 on the Canon R5 Mark II. And if you're curious, everything that I used in this video is in the links below. It helps support the channel, and including this lens, B&H, Amazon, it is in stock, so be sure to hit the link below if you do like the images that you see. It does help me out. I appreciate it. But here's a salute to Tony the Tiger, who died of diabetes. Till next time, I'm Jared Hoyman. But now the video's over and you got these other videos to choose from. You may have missed these, but even if you haven't, you may want to watch them again because they're fun.